A zoo in China admits that the pandas are painted dogs. A boy was abducted at the age of 6 and then found alive more than 70 years later. And then, sadly, a man died after accidentally stabbing himself while trying to separate two frozen burger patties. These are the weird stories for Monday on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast hosted by a comedian in a closet. Let's do it. A zoo in China admits that their pandas aren't real pandas. In fact, they're dogs that are painted to look like pandas. We have here Chinese zoogoers are barking mad after learning the alleged pandas that they visited at the Shanwei Zoo were just dogs that were painted to look like the panda bears. Of all the places where you could probably easily get pandas, China, they can't even do it right. They're getting dogs and painting them. They're doing some panda cosplay. I think that's what you call that, right? This obviously caused some pandemonium by people that were pretty upset about it. They probably were asking for refunds on their tickets to the quote-unquote zoo. It says this deception was uncovered by some visitors after one of the so-called pandas started barking. They knew something was afoot when the panda chased a frisbee for the very first time in nature. Oh, man. Okay, so one of the pandas started barking and panting like a dog. Yeah, that's another sign, tongue out, panting. There's video footage of these painted pups, and I watched it, and they're pretty cute, I have to say. I kind of would rather go see the fake panda exhibit because the dogs are so adorable, and it's funny. Don't stop at the pandas, Just just have a whole fake zoo, Get some horses and paint them to look like zebras. Put a party hat on a coyote's nose and call it a skinny, hairy meth rhino. Come to our skinny, hairy meth rhino exhibit. Pass out some free cannabis before you go in. That sounds like an amazing zoo. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm down for the fake zoo. We'll just call it the cosplay zoo. Or we'll just call it pets identifying as wildlife zoo. Did that come out right? All right. Okay, so the video footage, which I watched, as I said, did I say that? Well, I'm saying that. I watched it. It was very funny. You could see the two puppy pandas roaming around, and they have these curly tails that are clearly visible. Now, apparently at first the zoo tried to dance around these allegations, claiming that the obvious dogs were actually a certain breed of panda dogs. They were calling it, no, these are panda dogs, a special breed made in the laboratory of Dr. Moreau. Now, as zoogoers and other online individuals refuse to accept this claim about the panda dog breed, it's a fantasy breed. Have you checked out our unicorn exhibit? Just a bunch of dogs with a horn duct taped to their face. Eventually, the zoo confessed the truth that they had just died two dogs that are called Shoutouts. This is a very fluffy dog breed that's very popular in China, apparently. It says here, unsurprisingly, duped visitors responded to the revelation by demanding their money back. This isn't the first time a zoo in China has tried to deceive visitors by swapping out pandas for made-up chow-chows. Back in Maine, the Taizhou Zoo admitted to pulling off a similar scheme, though they defended the ruse, saying the disguises were the next best alternative that they could offer up. Again, you're in China. Can't you get a hold of a panda or two? Other countries are getting permits to receive pandas from China. I believe you have to apply or something, but you're right there, man. Can't you just get them? The panda is like the official symbol of the country, and they're native to China. I'm just very confused with this. If a bunch of moronic Florida men can easily get a hold of as many tigers as they want, which seems to be the case, I don't understand why you can't get a real panda over there in Panda Land. Now, some people online have written some humorous things about this. One person wrote, "This is the Temu version of a panda, I think." That's pretty funny. "It's a pan-dog," another person wrote. Not quite as funny, but good. Some people were pretty offended by this. Obviously, everyone's easily offended these days. Someone wrote, "It's not funny at all to dye chow chow dogs to attract tourists. And by the way, their fragile skin and naturally thick coats make them susceptible to skin diseases. These poor dogs could get a skin disease. There's bigger problems here than a dog getting a skin disease. Like, at what point are we going to crack down as a world on China's knockoff products? They completely ignore copyright. It doesn't even exist in China. They don't even recognize copyright at all. I've talked to people that do business over there. They've told me, no, we don't recognize copyright. We just take something, we bring it in, and we take it apart piece by piece, and then we hire a factory to make the same damn thing. I've heard of knockoff products being made at the same factory that makes the actual authentic product. In China, they don't care. So there's bigger fish to fry here than a dog with some itchy skin. They're painting the dogs. They're shaving the cats. They're painting the dogs. They're shaving the cats. Come on over, baby, pet my panda poodle. Come on, baby, come and pet my panda poodle. My panda poodle is ready for some petting. I gave it a bath. It's ready for some petting. A boy abducted from California at age 6 was found alive more than 70 years later. This is a feel-good story, I think. Luis Armando Albino was 6 years old in 1951 when he was taken while playing at an Oakland, California park. Now, more than 7 decades later, Albino has been found thanks to help from an online ancestry test, some old photos, and even some newspaper clippings. All right, we're going to get into the backstory of Albino. He's a father and a grandfather, by the way, a retired firefighter, and a Marine Corps veteran as well, who actually served in Vietnam. Now, his 63-year-old niece found Albino and reunited him with his California family fairly recently. Here's what happened. February 21st, 1951, a woman lured the 6-year-old Albino from the West Oakland Park where he had been playing with his older brother and promised the Puerto Rico-born boy in Spanish that she would buy him some candy. The old "I'll buy you candy" trick. This has been going on for decades, this buy 'em candy. Usually there's a van involved. So many kids just lured by delicious candy. It's so sad. Now, instead, the woman kidnapped the child, flew him to the East Coast, where he ended up with a couple who raised him as if he were their own son. Officials and family members didn't say where on the East Coast that he lives. But for more than 70 years, Albino remained missing. He was always in the hearts of his family, and his photo hung at relatives' houses. Sadly, his mother died in 2005, but the family never gave up hope that the son was alive. Oakland police acknowledged the efforts of the niece played an integral role in finding her uncle, and that the outcome of this story is what they strive for. In an interview, she said her uncle hugged her and said, "Thank you for finding me," and kissed her on the cheek. This is so touching. It says here the first notion that her uncle might still be alive came in 2020 when, just for fun, she took an online DNA test. It showed a 22% match with a man who eventually turned out to be her uncle. A further search at the time yielded no answers or any response from him. In early 2024, she and her daughters began searching again. On a visit to the Oakland Public Library, she looked at some microfilm of Tribune articles, including one that had a picture of Luis and Roger, which convinced her that she was on the right track. I don't know who this Roger is. Maybe the father? She then went to the Oakland police the next day. Investigators eventually agreed the new lead was substantial, and a new missing persons case was opened. Luis was located on the East Coast and provided a DNA sample, as did his sister. With the assistance of the FBI, Luis came to Oakland with members of his family and met with the niece, her mother, and other relatives. The next day, she drove her mother and her newfound uncle to Roger's home in Stanislaus County, California. There's a play-by-play of what happened. You can imagine tears, hugs, all the above. I don't know who this Roger is still. Luis returned to the East Coast but came back again for a 3-week visit. It was the last time he saw Roger, who died in August. Oh, Roger must be his father. That's his father. The niece said her uncle did not want to talk to the media about any of this. Maybe he's ashamed. No need to be. It's no fault of his. The kid was abducted and then like sold to a third party, sold to another whole family. Who would do such a thing? There's just evil people out there. It's so terrible. I don't want to concentrate on the bad part, though. The good part is this guy, after decades, is reunited with his family. That's just amazing. The real miracle is he's still 6 years old. But isn't that weird? Some say he's the youngest man alive. I did a little dive into some of the comments on this story, by the way, that people are making. They're like, how does he join the military and without ID and without a social security number? How did this all happen? But in case you don't know, before 1985, you were not even assigned a social security number at birth. It wasn't until your parents applied if they wanted one, which is typically the case if you're going to claim them on your taxes, I believe. But, if you're running a child abduction phase, you're probably just going to fake everything. You could fake a birth certificate, then get a social security number later on, and then he might not know what's going on. Other people were like, how does he not know that he's been kidnapped and go look for his family? Well, there's something called Stockholm Syndrome. It's very, very real. It's a process where your abductors make you feel safe. They feed you. They clothe you, give you shelter. It's a coping mechanism for survival at that point. And then, then repression sets in, obviously. So, yeah, what's the boy supposed to do? But, this is a feel-good story at the end, and it's also highlights the assistance from DNA testing and finding your ancestors. One of my relatives is really into it. She's been looking for our ancestors in Italy and Ireland using these DNA websites, and she's linked up with a bunch of them. It's pretty cool. She's even gone over there and visited our family. So it's a very cool time to live in when you can do the DNA tests, and then you can open up a map and find people that are related to you all over the world. I mean, it's a good way to look for new places to vacation. Maybe you can have a free place to stay too. I would recommend that. Hey, you got to put me on your couch because we're related. We're like 36th cousins removed. Does that work? Does that work for anybody? I would be willing to bet, I haven't done the DNA ancestry test yet, but I would bet I'm related to some of my listeners distantly. It's very, very possible, which is pretty cool. Sup, cuz? A man died after stabbing himself while trying to separate two frozen hamburger patties. Is this what the vegans mean when they say meat is murder? This guy murdered himself trying to separate some beef patties. They're not easy to separate in his defense. Let's find out what his method was. I'm assuming he tried to separate them with, a samurai sword? They're hard to get apart, man. This is a 57-year-old man living alone. He was described by people that knew him as a very private man. The deceased was found at his flat in a place called Llandrindod Wells, which is a town in Wales. He had been there laying dead for several days before being found by the police in a welfare check. Investigators found the man fully clothed with dried blood on his stomach. Blood splatters were found throughout his kitchen and his bathroom. His phone, wallet, and computer had not been touched, and there was no sign of a struggle in the first-floor apartment. It was only when officers found the frozen burger that they were able to determine what happened. Well, at that point, it's not frozen anymore. I assume it's been thawed out. So how did they put it all together? These detectives are pretty crafty. We have a quote from Detective Chief Inspector Jonathan Reese, who says, "The bottom drawer of the freezer had been left open and pulled forward." Well, that's not an English accent. Let me try this again. "Yeah, the bottom drawer of the freezer had been left open and pulled forward in the position to excess food items. On the work surface in the kitchen adjacent to the fridge freezer were two uncooked burgers, a knife, and a tea towel. Now, the wound to the abdomen would have been approximately the height of the work surface. My hypothesis at this stage was that Griffiths was attempting to separate frozen burgers using a very sharp knife." All right, these accents aren't all winners, guys. I can't do a Welsh accent. What do you expect from me? I'm just trying. Just having fun, guys. Just trying to have some fun. We have fun together. Anyways, I just got cast in an independent film where I have to do a Russian accent, which I'm actually okay with. I'm a little bit better with the Russian accent than I am some of the others. But overall, Jonesy's not so great with the accents. Okay, it says that this guy lay dead for several days from a single stab wound before he was found. I guess it was in the abdomen. Initially, the knife was found covered with a substance thought to be chocolate, though it was later determined to be blood. How do you guys think? You find a knife and your first thought is, oh, there's chocolate on the knife, although there's a dead man laying there. What kind of detectives is this? There's a guy who's bled out and a knife is next to him. Something's on the knife. What do you think that is, Sergeant? It's probably chocolate, but we should test it. It says this guy led a very private life with limited contact with others. Very, very sad. He's trying to have himself a barbecue, and he's got nobody to barbecue with. Also very, very sad. People are living alone. I covered a story about that. A lot of people being all alone in their houses these days, living a very solitude lifestyle. And when an accident happens, sadly, there's no one around to save you. It's really, really bad. Maybe we should all be investing in Life Alert. You know, the thing around your neck. Do you remember the old commercials? I've fallen and I can't get up. I fell down. I can't get up. And you push the Life Alert button. I stabbed myself in the stomach trying to separate burgers and I can't get up. I've been attacked by a pack of panda dogs and I can't get up. Oh, they're licking my face, licking it. All right, before I go, I think it's pertinent to discuss methods of separating frozen burgers. Now, one could make the argument that you shouldn't be eating frozen burgers in the first place, but if you grew up as I did, white trash adjacent, then you're going to have frozen burger patties in your life. That's just how it's going to be because they're extremely cheap, and that's what we had. Sometimes you don't plan ahead because planning ahead is you take the burgers out, let them defrost a little bit, and then separate them very easily, and you can do so at that point with even a spatula or a butter knife. A lot of people if you're going to separate the frozen burgers while they're still frozen, to just slap the stack of burgers on the ground, on the concrete, on something metal, a table even, a brick wall might work. Now, if you can't wait for the burgers to defrost before separation and you don't feel comfortable smashing them against your kitchen wall or your fish tank, then you're going to have to use a blade because those are the thinnest of the kitchen utensils, a knife, obviously, but make sure it's not sharp. Just try the butter knife, although not to say that you couldn't stab yourself with a butter knife, but it's less likely that you'll bleed out on your kitchen floor if you use a butter knife, in my opinion. And then if you want to take some extra precaution, just, FaceTime a relative while you're separating the frozen burgers with a knife. Have them watch you while you do it. If you drop out of frame and scream on the ground, then they know they should call the ambulance for you and have them go to your location. See, guys, Jonesy's just filled with so many tips to keep you alive. Isn't that great? I'm bringing you some extra stuff to the podcast. It's not just ridiculous stories about foolish people and fake pandas and whatnot. There's stuff in here. There's a substance in here to help you live a long time because I care about you. This poor man. This did not have to happen. It just goes to show the things that you love the most can hurt you the most. Hi, my friends and my loyal listeners of the Weird AF News podcast production. Thank you for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a lovely weekend. I hope you enjoyed that Florida Friday episode. The episode. I want to thank everybody who contributed to the Florida Friday episode. I want to give a shout out to people that reached out to me over the weekend. Appreciate that. Someone bought me some coffees, so let's give them some thanks and praise. It happens to be Kent. Kent has bought me coffees in the past. Kent wrote me a lovely note because when you buy Jonesy coffee off my website, weirdafnews.com, you can write me a note. He wrote, I really struck it rich, so I wanted to share a bit with my favorite podcaster. Okay, I only won $72 in pull tabs at the local pub, Jonesy, but I still feel rich knowing there's going to be some laughs sent my way from you and your witty humor. Thanks for doing what you do, Jonesy. Monday mornings at work are my favorite as I start the day listening to Florida Friday. Weird AF News. Good luck with your life, man. That's how many A's that Kent put in that. It's man. Kent is very, very sweet. Very, very funny. I appreciate that. And congratulations on winning $72 in pull tabs at the local pub. I'm not sure what that means. I'm going to have to look up pull tabs. The local pub leads me to believe that he's over in the UK somewhere or something like that. So pull tabs. Is this a way to win some extra cash, some drinking money? Look at that, Kent. You won $72, and rather than spend it all at the pub, you were like, let me put a little aside for my buddy Jonesy, who gets me laughing on Monday mornings when you're at work. Does your boss know you listen to Weird AF News at work? That's fine. You should get a free pass for listening to Weird AF News at work. Tell your boss. No, this is fine. This is Weird AF News. By the way, the episodes are like usually under 20 minutes because Jonesy cares about the precious time that his listeners have in life. Not a lot of it. So I keep it brief, baby. I keep it brief. Okay, I wanted to give another shout out to someone who wrote me a lovely email. Jessica Martin. Yeah, Jessica sent me she sent me the Panda Dogs in China article, which many of you did. Thank you for sending me that. It was very weird and very appropriate. And Jessica wrote, I'm a fan of Weird AF News, Jonesy. I listen every day. I thought you might like this article. I laugh every morning on my way to work with your podcast playing in my car, and I've seen some of your stand-up comedy on Instagram. You're awesome. Well, isn't that sweet? That made me feel amazing, by the way. So Jessica Martin, shout out to you for making me feel amazing with your love from wherever you might be. Doesn't say where she's from. I was going to say love from afar, but she might not be afar. She might be near. She might be a near. Is a near a word? Afar, a near. She might be a near. I don't think that's a word, but I'm going to roll with it anyways because who cares, right? Anyways, if you guys want to email me, it's funnyjones@gmail.com. My Instagram that does have stand-up comedy clips, as Jessica has alluded to. Instagram is @funnyjones. I'm doing a big show here Wednesday night down in Southern California at the Garden Grove Amphitheater. If anyone would like some tickets to that, I can give a pair of tickets away. If you email me, I'll send you this code and a link, and you can get some tickets. It's the Garden Grove Amphitheater this Wednesday night. The show begins at 7 p.m. But yeah, I can get you a couple of tickets to that. Just email me, funnyjones@gmail.com if you happen to be in the area. The headliner is Jamie Kennedy, a known celebrity from Scary Movie, and he had a show called The Jamie Kennedy Experiment, and he's been in a bunch of movies. And his stand-up comedy is very good, so I'm very happy. I've worked with him a few times. So we're going to have a big show Wednesday night at this big amphitheater. Should be like 500 people there, which is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. Big stage. I'm going to be having a good old party time, and I can have a party time with you if you'd like to go, so send me an email. What else? WeirdAFnews.com is the place to go to buy me a coffee. And if you want to join the Patreon as well, that's another way to support the show. So think about that. And good luck with your life, man.